this episode of Valve House, we'll be filling up all the fluids in the Integra. So hopefully today we get to fill all of the clutch lines with brake fluid. I've already got transmission fluid, so I'm going to fill that up today. I'm going to refill the coolant. It turned out we didn't actually need to drain it, but I was actually low on coolant, so it worked out good anyway because I needed coolant. But other than that, we should probably get the first start today, but we're still currently waiting on the ball joint down there. As you can see, everything's still apart in pieces. So yeah, that should be it. Let's see how far we get today. Alright, so I went down to Super Cheap, picked up some clear tubing for clutch bleeding. I got 2 brake fluids, so I'm not sure how much I'm going to need. I got some coolant, and I had this trans gear from the EP3 that we didn't use, so it's a fresh bottle ready to put in my car. Right, so underneath, as you can see, this here is the clutch pedal. It's mounted just up there, so the way we put it in, I couldn't video because it's so tight under here. So we put that one there in, and there's 2 against the firewall just there. You want to put both of them in. Where's the other one? Just there. And they bolt to the master cylinder, so the firewall is sandwiched. And the way you adjust your clutch is by spinning this thing here. I've got to still adjust mine just a little bit more because it's biting a bit too high for my liking. And this here is how you adjust where your clutch pedal sits. So you just want to make sure it is in line with your brake pedal. So as we can see in the engine bay, there's the master cylinder down there. So there's a little blocker plate that once sat here. So you unscrew that from the other side, pop it out, and then you place your master cylinder in and bolt the clutch to the threads that come through. And then once you start bolting it to the master cylinder, do that top bolt back up, and then you can start fiddling around the adjustments. Alright, to make a clutch bleeding kit, you're going to need an old bottle. I've just got an old Coke bottle. And then what we're going to do is drill a hole in the top so the tube can go in. Let's go do that now.
So now we're up to bleeding the clutch. So we've got all the clutch hard lines in. We still need to screw that in, but we're just going to leave it loose for now. Now we just got to top up the master cylinder with fluid.
Alright, so to bleed the clutch, what we've got to do is you've got to crack it and get the person inside the car to push the clutch in. And then as they put the clutch in, you want to tighten it back up and then get them to let the clutch out. What that's going to do is bleed all of it out, and then when it's sucking up, it's going to suck fluid, not air. Down.
Yeah.
Up.
Yeah.
Down.
Yeah.
Up.
So now we're up to filling and bleeding the coolant system. So first you want to drain and fill up your overflow to just below max, just because once we start draining it, it's going to suck a lot into the radiator. And now we're just going to top up the radiator, and then we'll start the engine and start bleeding it.
We're going to start now, so it's essentially I make sure it's in neutral because down there, as you can see, they're still in bits, but so make sure it's in neutral. But to bleed the coolant, which is what we're doing now, you got to make sure your heater core is open. So you need to have your heater on full. You don't really need to have the fans going, but you need to have the heater on full so the core is open. So I'm just going to make sure it's in neutral. Alright, you ready? Here we go.
So when bleeding the coolant, we have to bring the RPM of the engine up a bit just to really flush all the coolant through the engine and through the radiator. And that also gives us a bonus of some open throttle body sound. So
Alright, so I got it working. So what I had to do is I used this ball joint press upside down So that had the nut just there, and that was the tie rod in there. And when it was pushing it down, it locked the thread, so I was able to spin the nut on and put the locking pin through. So now she's ready to take for her first drive. Alright, so the car seems to be shifting well. No weird noises or anything. Seems to be very smooth as well, which is good. So we've taken the car for its first drive. Everything seems to be running smoothly.
Yeah, it shifts well and doesn't blow any smoke or anything, and there's no leaks as well.
And just like that, it was complete. The Integra was finally manual. You're probably wondering, was it worth it, swapping the manual transmission into the automatic Integra? Was it worth the money? Was it worth the pain? Was it worth all that time and effort? Was it worth the setbacks? Was it worth all them early starts and late finishes? For me, it's definitely a yes. Going from an automatic Integra to a manual Integra, I'm glad to say it was worth it, and it really wasn't that much time and effort compared to what I thought it was going to be. It makes the car so much more fun and enjoyable, and more like what an Integra should be like. So, should you do it? That's up to you to decide. For me, I think it's a no-brainer, but everyone has different opinions. I've been wanting a manual car for so long, and now that I have one, I'm so glad with how it turned out. On the first drive, I could not take the smile off my face. And that's going to be it for the Integra Manual Swap series. Thanks to everyone who's come along and watched all the videos, and thanks to JDM Yard and Type R Spares for sending me out the parts when I needed them. Thanks for watching this episode of Valve House.